What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the Alto again. And this time we got round three with Petri of Ensiferum and, of course, the kick ass new project, Satanic North. Thank you for coming on the show today. It's great to have you here.
Good to be here, dude.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. This new album, Satanic North, is just true blasphemy at its absolute finest, and it's a kick-ass pulverizing masterpiece when you open up with War to ending with Satanic North. Was there sort of like a vision behind the formation of this project? Was this sort of like a project you've always wanted to do but just didn't really have the time to, or was it sort of like a spur of the moment, out of nowhere idea?
Um, Kind of a thing we didn't know that we needed to do. Basically, yeah, it started right at the doorstep of the pandemic, and we had a lot of time then. World closed down, so we had a lot of time to sit down at the rehearsal place and play, just jam around. Not that much on the normal schedule life right before COVID. There was no chance for just sitting on endless hours at the rehearsal place. So once we got the songs rolling in a way, we just noticed that this is like almost a little bit too easy. Everything is rolling too smoothly, but it was just like everybody's having a good time, having fun doing some black metal stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And because when I spoke to you the last time, we just entered the world shutting down when you were putting out Thalassic. So, like, did maybe, like, just the darkness... I know this is going to be such a cheeky question to ask, but the darkness that we were facing with the world... Because I've always thought that Ensiferum was some of the most funnest form of melodic death metal that there is. I still listen to From Afar, like, as, like, a party anthem for me in a way. But, like, did maybe just the darkness of the world completely shape up the mood and how you wrote?
Kind of, yeah. It was pretty grim time when the world shut down. Like, there was nothing to be seen in this year, the 2020. I got the email around what was it, late March, that for the rest of the year we don't have jack shit. So I'm like, well, okay, kind of cool. So what do I do now? And right at that point, we were forming up the Satanic North, so we had at least something to do at that point.
Yep. And you've been kind of busy between, the lockdown and now because you also were featured on the new Warman album as well. So I think it's fair to say that while maybe the world stopped, your creative mind, that didn't stop at any point, right?
No, not really. Didn't have time for that kind of break.
Yeah, you never do.
Yeah.
You never do. When it came to the making of this album, because one thing I've wanted to ask about is because I feel like war has been sort of like a theme throughout your catalog, whether it was your work with Norther or as we've seen with One Man Army, and that's the opening track off of the Satanic North album, and you collaborated with Warman. It seems like war seems to be the word that is present throughout your whole catalog, and I'm just wondering, has that always been just a subject matter you explore? Did you know that was always going to be kind of like a meaning that you explored through your music?
Now that you put it in that kind of way, I guess, yeah. Yeah, I never actually saw this kind of connection with everything, but well, there is tons of different types of wars going on. The physical war is right now happening on the east side and stuff like that. But then you got all your inner demon wars and stuff like that. So I would say, yeah, it's also a kind of like a topic where you can dive in basically any time. You will find something new in that kind of format.
Has research always been sort of like part of your songwriting process, whether it's like reading certain books or watching certain documentaries or so on?
Not really. I think they come then alongside with the music, pretty much on its own. So never did any deep dive into certain topics or anything now.
Yeah. Does it also come from a personal place too? You mentioned like inner demons and whatnot as well.
Yeah. Everybody has their own battles to fight in their everyday lives, and that's pretty much the stuff what then ends up in the songs in the form of music and lyrics. sometimes people can get it and sometimes not, but it's also like the way of how you interpret the lyrics. Sometimes, they hit you in the face like this is totally from my fucking life, these lyrics, and people can relate to that one. But sometimes the point goes a little bit off, but maybe someday it will hit you.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just sort of like a Scandinavian thing or whatnot. But I've noticed that when it comes to anything talking about war, that you all know how to make it just anthemic and fun in a way. Like how many times have we like every time we've seen like hard, and not to knock on it, but like we most of the time we hear war songs and it's usually like very anti-war, it's very somber, it's very honest about the turmoil that comes with it. But it almost seems like with Ensiferum, and not just Ensiferum or Satanic North, but as we've seen with Sabaton or Wolfheart or whatever, it's almost anthemic, it's almost kind of celebratory in a way, which I find ironic.
Yeah, I think that is also kind of like the contradiction of the topic to the music. You can make the music sound a lot more than if you just read the lyrics, it can be really, really grim and dark. But when you have that in the right context with the music, it can be actually kind of like heroic, a little bit even uplifting in its own way. So not sure how many bands actually do it on purpose, but I guess it's just in the northern blood.
I think it actually is, because people say that if you don't have enough sunlight or if it's cold all the time, you can't
that's fucking true.
Yeah, you can't be happy. But I got to tell you, I've interviewed thousands of Norwegians, Swedes, and Finland, and like I could tell you that you guys are always like the most uplifting people. I got to tell you, actually, I think a lot of the most miserable people I've interviewed are probably from Miami. So
they got too much sunlight,
There is such a thing. There is such a thing. I don't know how Florida has become the death metal capital of the world with Tampa, but you know what? I love it. I love the irony.
I think they turn on the AC like really fucking cold.
Yeah, and hurricane season maybe helps a little bit.
Well, yeah, that kind of brings down the mood.
I've noticed that the best records are always like recorded during the hurricane season. So,
well, better to stay indoors, underground, even if you can.
Fair enough. When it comes to the style of black metal, though, because I don't like to pigeonhole artists by any means, but a lot of people consider you to be almost like an icon in the melodic death metal sphere, whether it was with Ensiferum or Norther or the work that you've done with Mormon. But are you expressing maybe a different side of yourself with Satanic North that we haven't seen in Ensiferum? Because I always thought that maybe with Ensiferum there is sort of like a choreography or sort of like a character that is portrayed. Is this almost expressing a different side of who you personally are when we, especially when we see the alias that you're going by?
Definitely, yeah. And I also picked up the bass in this band, which I actually have never played before, but we wanted to keep it as a quartet. So we thought about second guitar player, but then the whole dynamics will change within the band and all that one. And we noticed also with the songs what we were currently writing at that point, there was no need for a second guitar. And also I was considered to pick up the second guitar first, but I'm like, so far the material does not require second guitar. And I think that one works also as our favor, since we don't have either keyboards in the music. So it leaves a lot of maneuverability for both instruments in this case. So it's totally different what I've been doing so far with the 6-string guitars. And playing bass has opened whole new doors, or gates of hell, if you want to say that one. But but it's been a lot of fun, and it's definitely something new.
I wanted to ask about that too, picking up the bass, because it's such a melodic driven instrument, but it's also very rhythmic as well. So when it comes to what you're listening for and what you're like paying attention to, does it almost feel like a completely, there is like a saying that if you know how to play guitar, you sort of know how to play bass, or you can, but bass having such an emphasis on rhythm and kind of having to stay along with the tempo of the song, and it really acts as a foundation. Did you have to like approach your methodology a little bit differently in your creativity?
Absolutely, since I can play bass, but I'm not a bass player. That's a whole different thing. But I've been watching very capable bass players all my life, and I've seen what they kind of do. Never paid like serious, details what they are actually doing, but I've seen and heard it a lot. So I took a little that one to my approach, because it's if you play 1-to-1 unison with the guitar, it sounds really boring. So, and we have just one guitar and one bass, so both can do a lot to kind of like fulfill each other. The kind of like the missing pieces. And for guitar, if you're playing a melody, I got the rhythm part then going on and all that one. I'll take care of that one. But also then during the riffs, you can play so many different things with the bass that does not have to go anywhere near the guitar lines, for example. So it was totally a new thing for me, and that was a lot of fun. I noticed that you can play a lot with the bass and still get away with it.
You know what? That's in the world of rock and roll, we've all seen and heard our fair share of terrible bass player memes and terrible bass player jokes. But you know what? They say that the bass players never get like the girls in rock and roll. I just want to point out Lemmy and Peter Steele. That's all you need right there. So.
Case closed.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. But do you feel also in this style with picking up a new instrument and really experimenting with this different style, but also by going under these aliases, and I ask every musician in black metal this, but when you go by It Kipre, if I pronounce that correctly, but also having Abassur and stuff, do you feel like maybe you are portraying characters, if you will, or portraying maybe an identity outside of who I know you as Petri from Ensiferum?
Well, of course, it's little bit like a theatric performance when you change your stage outfit, you put on the corpse paint, you let the blood flow on your face, and then you go on stage. It's not the same guy who just left from the backstage. So it's totally different thing. It's also the same with Ensiferum and Warman. It's you kind of put on a game face when you go on. So definitely, those are different dudes on stage.
I'll admit, because when I first interviewed you in 2019 on the Septic Flesh Arsis tour that you guys did back at Irving Plaza, I was listening to Ensiferum for years, and I remember meeting you and just how like chill you were and like how relaxed you were. I honestly thought I was being pranked and thought I was talking to the wrong like guy in a way, and then I saw you on stage. I was like, how is this the same fucking person? It really is almost like a separate. It's like almost kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde sort of thing.
Yeah. When I walk up to the microphone, opened my first scream, so to say, and that's the point when it definitely changes.
Yeah. And also, I have this sort of theory about black metal and whatnot. I feel like the genre that it's most closest to in terms of personality, I'm going to get so much hate for this on the internet. I'm saying it, not Petri, just heads up.
Yeah.
And that is, I feel like it's most similar to rap and hip hop, because think about it. Everybody's trying to be real. It's all about being real. How many times have we heard real hip hop, and how many times have we heard real black metal? And everybody also goes by the aliases in a way. So I'm just wondering if there has to be some sort of crossover in that. Or am I...
Never put it in that kind of perspective either, this kind of topic, but I think you're on to something. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I've wanted to flirt that theory out there, and I'm probably going to get...
Yeah, I'm not saying that we're going to, ask something from, I don't know, Public Enemy or something, to be featuring on a black metal project, but yeah.
You gotta make that. We gotta make that happen. Please, let's make that happen. Hey,
can you imagine just like Public Enemy dudes wearing corpse paint?
You know what? After seeing Billie Eilish wear it, and seeing Kim Kardashian wear a Morbid Angel shirt, I'm ready to expect anything at this point.
Yeah. Well, I'm never saying never, but it's highly probably not gonna happen. But keep an open mind and a couple of eyeballs open too.
Of course, of course. In terms of your lyrical process too, being that your music has always been so story oriented, but this I feel like having vultures and four demons and hatred and blasphemy, did it almost feel like the music lyrically was also coming from a completely different source as well, or maybe even like whether it would be a different headspace or a different source of inspiration?
Yeah, our vocalist Von Occult is mainly responsible for all the lyrics and writing those little stories. We got a couple of like horror story styles over there, and then hatred and blasphemy. You can just guess where that goes.
I
The
want,
obvious.
yeah,
Yeah,
I wonder
yeah,
where that could where that
yeah,
what that
yeah,
could be.
yeah. It's nothing that nice, but anywho, and so like so on. We're not kind of like going off the black metal topics that much. We stay in the fairly conventional black metal lyrical themes. Yeah.
Because when you look at how much black metal has evolved over the years, like when Mayhem first became a thing, nobody would ever expect to see a band like Death Heaven, which black metal or not, debate or something like that. When people saw Bathory, or back in the day, people could never expected a band like Behemoth that sort of combined it with black and death metal. It's fair to say that you guys wanted to take the more traditional Dark Throne, Mayhem, Satyricon, Emperor sort of route behind it, right?
Yeah. The '90s scene is our thing, like completely, and this is kind of like our version of it, our tribute to that era of black metal. And when we did the songs, we never went too far, got like too ambitious or whatever, because you could take it to a whole new level if you add some keyboards, put a second guitar on it, and orchestrations and blah blah blah. You could make it super symphonic, really, kind of like easily these days, since you can just handle it at home if you got a laptop, you can do it. So it's not a big deal, but we did not want to go that way at all. So just keeping it as a quartet, simple, raw, pretty much just straight punch to the guts.
Bring back the church burnings.
Yeah, well, there's not that many wooden churches left, so we're gonna just leave them alone.
And that's not in the budget at the time anyway.
No, it's definitely not within the budget.
And I actually wanted to ask too, because as somebody who was born during the '90s in New York, who didn't get to experience the black metal movement at all, but was the black metal movement that we've seen in Norway, did that at all sort of spread? Did that catch on to Finland like fairly quickly in a way, or was it a very like recluse sort of thing where unless if you were in Oslo or Bergen, Norway, you did not know about it?
You might know it in the form of the news because they were hitting the news every time there was a major church burning in Norway. It was mentioned in the media over here. But otherwise than that, you did not have the social media coverage these days that can reach anywhere, just matter of seconds. So you might read it from the newspaper or the music magazines afterwards, but it was kind of, word to mouth, bush radio working at that point.
I do wonder if social media existed at that time, how they would have been perceived in a way, because I've seen people talk in the exact same way on their Facebook posts as Euronymous supposedly spoke to his scene back then. Now, if I see somebody post on Facebook today, we're true black metal and we hate everything, like, I kind of, and I'm not knocking it by any means. Black metal is some of my favorite music that there is. But nowadays, I would kind of laugh at it in a way, or almost kind of like mock it.
Yeah.
Back then, people didn't know what that was. People would be terrified. So I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
do you think like black metal's meaning sort of changed over the years too, in terms of how it's perceived and what is deemed as true?
Well, back at that time, you did not actually know who these guys are. You just have the aliases. There was this shroud of mystery hanging over it. You did not know who these guys are, what they do outside of the band. You just know that they're fucking evil and they do crazy shit. But compared to these days, basically no matter how fucking underground you need to be, you still gotta be social media present.
Yeah.
somehow, unless you don't really, really want to. But that also means that
Yeah.
you're basically playing for yourself at that point.
Yep. I remember us talking with somebody who's claimed to be as true as it gets. We don't use social media. We don't do any of that. And then like I like looked on the internet. I said, "There's something on Metal Archives about you. You are a total poser."
Busted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the final question I wanted to ask you is because first off, the Satanic North is incredible. I like it. I was beyond shocked. I did not know that this was you. I just saw like I can't remember who shared it, but I remember looking up the song. This is insane, and then I saw that it was you, and I was like, "Damn, I'm impressed. This is incredible." Is this going to allow you to maybe bring some new stuff into Ensiferum, or maybe on another Warman album in a way, or do you just kind of want to keep this recluse into Satanic North?
Well, I'm not sure how much this I can bring to those two other bands, but we'll see what the future holds. But this one is definitely a fun thing to do, and we're gonna keep on doing it.
I can't wait to see more. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming back on the show. Always a great conversation. Just,
Thank you very much.
Just any tours or shows we could be expecting with the release of the Satanic North album. And of course, I do have to ask this too as well. But now that Thalassic, the latest Ensiferum album, is hitting 4 years old, in fact, it's over 4 years old now. I remember interviewing you at that time. Anything we knew we could be expecting from the Ensiferum camp as well?
Well, new album is ready. We recorded and mixed and mastered the whole thing a couple of months back already. And now we're just waiting for the final release date to be decided, and then we get the show on the road again.
And please tell me you're coming back to North America very soon.
Hopefully we will. Yes.
Because I did miss the last time you guys came here when you were in Warsaw with Kalma, because I had to cover In Flames that day. So, yeah. But I would. It's always an event. When I saw you guys at Irving Plaza, it's always a favorite there. So we got to make that happen again.
Yeah, it's a cool place to play.
Yep, and they just renovated too since the last time you were there. So
yeah. They had some water damage, what I heard, or something like that.
They gutted the place and completely revamped it.
Okay.
Like I was in
completely.
Yeah, I was in those new dressing rooms working press, and oh my god, it's like a 5-star hotel up there. So.
Well, I don't mind about that.
Yeah, who could complain there, right?
Yeah.
But thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Petri of Satanic North and Ensiferum and Warman. Be sure to check out the Satanic North's debut album. It is an absolute blasphemous masterpiece. Be sure to check out the latest Warman album featuring Petri on Here for None, and as well as check out the latest Ensiferum album, Thalassic. New stuff coming very soon. We will see you next time on Heavy New York.
Cheers, man.